How we doing, guys? Sam here with your last installment with today's seminars. Today we're going over my favorite thing when it comes to fishing here in the bay, light tackle jigging. So starting out, we're going to take a look at some of the rods we have. Now, what you're looking for as far as rods goes is a 6 to 7 foot rod in that medium class range. And one thing we really like is a very fast tip, or even an extra fast tip on the rod. That refers to the taper of the rod here towards the top here. As we proceed to cut this. There we go. The tip there, an extra fast tip, is a tip that's going to bend more towards the tip here. So you're going to have a softer tip with a lot of backbone leaning into it there. That's one thing we're really looking for as far as the rod goes. For the reel side of things and the line, we're looking for a 200 size baitcaster, 150, 200 size, or in the spinning version, either a 2500 or a 3000 like you see here. And one thing that's really important is the line. We really like braided line. That's going to allow for maximum sensitivity with the line. It's also not going to have any stretch, which is really the big key there. No stretch is important because we want to be able to feel as much as we can, so it's just going to increase our sensitivity with the braid. And as far as the weight of the braid goes, anywhere from a 10 to a 20 pound braid is really, really popular. A little tip for you, if you're just getting into jigging, fishing that 15 or even a 20 pound braid, you know, braid has a tendency to wrap around the tip, and when you first start jigging, you're going to have some problems with slack line. And with the light line, like a 10 pound braid, you'll end up wrapping the tip a lot. So I usually recommend starting out at that 15 pound braid, and then as you get used to it, you're able to dial that back and fish a little bit lighter line. Another thing that's important is fishing a leader here. Anywhere from a 2 to 6 foot leader is just a shot of fluorocarbon from the braided line in between the jig. So we're going to go over my favorite knot to do that, which is a improved all bright knot here. So we're going to tie this. We've got 15 pound Berkeley X9 line here. And we got 20 pound fluorocarbon if you want to come in here and take a look. So to start out, I like to go ahead and double over about 6 inches on my fluorocarbon leader. Then I have a little loop there with the doubled over 6 inches. I will then take the braid coming up here through the bottom, pull out about 10 inches or so. And then I'm going to pinch that there with my finger. Then I'm going to take this line and wrap it along the doubled over 6 inch section of the fluorocarbon about 7 to 8 times. Just about like that. Now I'm going to work this line going back up here. And what we're going to try and do, it's not a necessity to have it in between these little cracks, but that's what we're going to go for, is to weave that line right through those cracks there.
Let's have fun.
And then once I get up here, I went up with the braid when I started this, so now I'm going to go down and out with the braid to finish this. Now this line does need a little bit to be worked down, so I'm going to pull all 4 strands of line here to start out. Once that kind of seals up that little loop, I can then pull on the 2 main lines and kind of try and work this braid towards that, like that. And now you have this. Now I'm going to pull up here a little bit on the tag end of the fluorocarbon just to kind of cinch that knot down like that. And that's it. And then I'm just going to pull on both main lines to seal that knot up.
Yeah, I know. We just want to keep it right now simple as we can. Yep. So,
and that is the simple all bright knot here. Great leader connection, going to come through the guides really well. Moving along here, we've got some jigs. So, primarily you're going to see people rigging anywhere from a 5 inch to an 8 inch or 10 inch even in some parts of the season of a straight tail bait. Paddle tails have their time and a place. I typically like paddle tails in shallower water in the fall season, times like that. To start out though, just a straight tail bait like you'll see. This here we have a BKD. Now BKDs have a little bit smaller nose, so we like to kind of flush these out by giving them a little trim here. Not much, maybe an 1/8 of an inch off the top there.
99 cents for your
And a lot of people are going to add skirts to them. Skirts is a way to bulk up your profile, add color contrast, and really vary up what you can do with your jig. So this one here is the Z-Man Easy Skirt. This is the most common jig skirt you're going to see out there. And this has a little raised portion that helps snug up against the hook. I typically would keep this on there, but when I'm fishing a smaller jig, say a 1/2 ounce, 3/8 ounce like I have here, I'm going to trim that off just so I can have a little bit more meat up on my keeper tines. On my heavier jigs, it's really not a necessity there, but we will go ahead and do it with this one.
Yeah, right. But you can
Just trim a little bit of that off there.
that are crazy.
And now it's just as simple as sliding it up through there like that.
Option, and this is the only
And you can fix the colors if you'd like.
We don't do this.
From here,
We're doing it.
I'm going to take whatever plastic I'm using,
Those are
and I'm going to lay that across about halfway through the center of the bait. Now I'll mark there with my thumb where that hook is going to want to come out at the evenmost point on the bait. I can make a little mark there as a visual mark. And then I'm going to come in through the nose, and as straight as I possibly can through the center of the bait, we're going to rig that. And once that point of that hook is getting to right where I made that little initial mark, pop that through there, slide it up the shank of the hook, and you're done. That's a nice straight rig bait, straight through the center of that bait. It's going to stay on the jig a long time, and it's also going to have a good action to it. However, in the last few years, you're seeing a lot of people rig a bait a little bit different. This is the traditional form of rigging it. The new wave you see is rigging through the belly. The idea behind that is you have more hook exposure, and you're also getting a little bit more action in the tail. And to do that, it's even easier. You're just lining the bait up towards the belly side, going through the center, and then out through the belly. Pushing that on those keeper tines like that. Gonna have a little bit more action here, gonna have more hook exposure. You're seeing more and more people rig them like this. When you do rig it through the back, an advantage is it does stay on the bait a little bit longer. Something else you can do to really increase the longevity of your bait is just adding a little drop of super glue. And where we add that is right here on the jig. Typically around the keeper tines or somewhere around there. You don't need much, just a little there on the shank. And that is it. That's all there is to it. You need to be doing the same thing with a paddle tail as well. So that just about wraps it up for our rigging throughout today. Now we do still have our sale going on tomorrow, so if you guys are looking for some things, stop on by, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a good one.